Can you hear me?
Very well. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Moses, for the introduction. And my name is Seyi Oluwawumiju, not Ogunmiju as my email refer. And I'll be speaking along with Ayodeji Folarin. I don't, has Ayo joined? I think he was trying.
Hello, Seyi. I'm on the call. Good
Okay, great.
afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. So let's quickly introduce ourselves so that we can have. So my name is Seyi Oluwawumiju, and I live in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm a consultant with Covenant Technology, and happen to be a Microsoft certified professional. And I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. I'm also the Microsoft regional lead for Nigeria on MCT or any training package where you have support from Microsoft down to Nigeria and some other country in West Africa. So Deji, can you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, so my name is Ayodeji Folarin, based in Lagos, Nigeria. So a consultant CEO, Jari Computer Solutions. So I'm a Microsoft most valuable professional on data platform. And also I'm a BI developer, IT consultant. I'm a trainer. I'm a speaker. I've been doing this for well over 23 years. Thank you very much, Seyi.
Yes. Why are we here today? And that is why everybody is here. How do we look at the hybrid enable environment? And because of I make this very legible. I hope everybody can see it so that it can be clear with everybody. So we're trying to talk about the hybrid enable environment, and we're going to look at this agenda in different segments. First of all, we're looking at what is digital transformation generally, and which Moses has already said. And the simple example is that when we had this COVID-19, it was like everybody was thrown in this limbo where everybody needs to have a way by which you can have access to our documents. Schools can still continue their services, and even hospitals need to have a way by which they can conduct their services without interruption. So all this now, we need to look at general digital transformation. And afterward, we are going to look at cloud technology, looking at Azure as our focal points in this presentation. Then we're going to look at collaboration. We're going to look at security in terms of hybrid. And we're going to look at data, which is the oil of the industry today. And this is the main thing that is happening across the world. And when we look at data, it brings us to what we call business intelligence. And that's where Deji will come in to talk about elaborately on that. Or I'm going to go through it and then we can do a question and answer. Digital transformation. Generally, my opinion pool sometimes, I really want to get the perception of people. And we have up to 10 people on the call. Now, if I ask a general question now, where is this guy looking at? Is he looking at me or you or somewhere else? If you can just put it on a chart, looking at the left or right, where do you think this person is looking at? I think the chat is enabled. We just want to make this very interactive.
Yes, the chat is enabled. Guys, you can put your answers in the chat.
Put your answer there.
Thank you.
Do you think Mr. Seyi is looking at me? Thank you, Adebola. He said he's looking at me. Well, I don't know where you are actually seated, but you're right. He's looking at you. Any other answer? Is it to the left, to the right, to the center? What do you think this man is looking at? Oh, Bala said he's looking at him too. And Omolale Dadalekon said he's looking at the left. Then Olawale said he doesn't know whether it's right or left. Somebody said he's looking forward. The other person is looking at the center. And one said, I can see a dimensional-less person. You can see everybody is right. in his own sense. I'm telling you. And that is the perception everybody has when we come to shift of technology, shift of innovating technology, or there's a dynamics that has occurred in the technology space, which make us to look at it in different way. And that is where we have come here to look at what is the balance. As I said, Theophilus, Moses, Bala, everybody is saying something that is unique because that is their perception about what is happening. So also the hybrid technology came in, and it has, although this song had been rarely been sung earlier before the COVID-19, but the adoption rate was very minimal, the impact was minimal. But after COVID-19, a lot of things came in. How do we balance people experience with technology we have? And that is where the digital workspace and digital transformation come to play. How do I look at my staff, my people working with my application? Maybe you are in the banking industry, maybe you are in another industry. The fact here is that how do I balance what people is expecting? Am I an e-commerce business owner? How do I reach my customer in this time when we have this kind of crisis across every other business? How do I balance it with technology? And you can see the balancer there. There's a leverage there. How do I do that? And that's where digital transformation came in. Now it brings us to a stage where we need to decide whether we need a new way or an old way. And that is where we are talking about the hybrid situation. Deji, there's a plug now. We have our regular on-prem environment, which we refer to as the private cloud, which can be something that we manage by ourselves. We have those installations. And we have a cloud provision, which can also be a public cloud, which actually is provided by operators like Microsoft, which we are talking in context now. Others like Google, like AWS also do the same. What do you think this hybrid scenario will bring in terms of the change of the old one and the new one, Deji?
Yeah, thank you very much, Seyi. So when we talk about hybrid, definitely it has lots and lots of advantage for us. I want us to take a look at the session Moses just concluded, that the COVID issue, most people now saw the need for this hybrid, for this cloud technology. Now, before we don't care, let's have everything within the premises. But have you ever thought of anything like COVID? No. Or look at people working from diverse or different locations? No. But now it has come to stay. So hybrid arrangement is a perfect arrangement whereby what is happening in the organization remotely, locally, can actually sync with your cloud provision, so that number one, all your staff, wherever they may be, home and abroad, they can still be on their desk and work as if they are together. Number two, productivity. You can get to work anytime. Imagine there is a document that needed to be fetched and sent to a client. I tell you, I can't do anything outside 5 p.m. once I leave the office. Not until I get back to my desk to get that job done. But now I can actually get this thing done without stress. On my mobile phone, anywhere I might find myself. Number three, data protection. Most of us think within the organization our data is protected. Don't take the data to the cloud. But I want to tell you, based on experience, there are lots and lots of leakages here and there. So the hybrid approach with the security that comes in, maybe I'm going to speak less on security. I know somebody has come to talk about security, but just to let you know that it's much more secured. Now, apart from that, let us also look at scalability. We are in the organization. We want to scale up. We want to scale down. You want to do maintenance. I bet you have to shut down for a period. But when we talk about an hybrid scenario, you might not even have any downtime. And some organization, some processes, some job, they are critical. They don't even need to be down for a period or a time at all. So how do we manage all these things? Now, hybrid has actually come to stay. This is bringing the on-prem, syncing it with what you have, your provision in the cloud. And this is a solution all of us just have to embrace. And as time goes on, we still show you lots and lots of advantages around this. So Seyi, over to you.
Thank you, Deji. And that was explicit, giving us a high-level overview of all what we're going to discuss here. Now, just as you see, I always look at, when I look at hybrid, I look at what happened before now. Now, there was a research done in 2018, if I'm precise, although one thing I always make this disclaimer that everything I say here by this content might be changed in the next few minutes, because that is the level we have, the cloud technology. Things are constantly changing. So whatever I've shown you now might have changed or will be changing in the next few minutes. So coming to why we look at hybrid. Now, there was a research done somewhere in the US. And what were their target? They sampled 5 different people. And they were asking them some very typical question. One of the questions, as they said, is that, do you like working from outside your office? And 3 out of 5 of those people said yes. Now, they went further. They look at various scenarios and they asked them, how many devices do you bring? Some of them said they have multiple devices, about 32% out of those 5. Then afterward, they asked them about travel costs. Do you like to work from somewhere, anywhere, without actually, and this trickled down to reducing the return on investment and also reduce the travel costs of these people. Now, this now takes us to more elaborate understanding that we have a digital world. And in the digital world, the world has changed, which we have emphasized, and Deji has also said. When I look at hybrid situation, I always look at, I don't know how many people love ice cream here. And I'm a very fan of ice cream. And when you talk of ice cream, my mind goes to 2 things. Sorry, pardon me, for those that don't like those, my flavor. I like the flavor of vanilla and strawberry. Now, hybrid situation is talking of 2 different flavors. The one that is powered, that is traditionally what we are used to, and the one that is powered by high computing speed, which is a cloud-enabled environment. Now, when I bring those 2 flavors together, it gives me a color of pink and white, and the flavor in my mouth is wow. And that is me. And that is the same thing that hybrid is bringing to you, a change world, a world that runs on big data. What's big data? Big data is the advent of going away from structured data that we are used to, probably to Oracle, to SQL Server, my SQL Server, and pulling all those data in a structured way. We have a column, row. We are talking of data that are not structured, data that come from your picture in your picnic, data that come from PDF that is stored in a block server, where everything come together became the uniqueness of today. Now, cloud adoption over the time, especially, let's now stay on the cloud environment now. Their cloud adoption has increased between 2020 to 20. I'm using Europe because I know US adoption has increased. The North Americans, the adoption rate was higher when cloud technology came in because of AWS, Google, Microsoft. They all reside in that continent. But when you talk of Europe and Africa, Africa is coming up, but the adoption rate from 2020-21, especially after COVID and post-COVID, has alarmingly increased, telling us that we are in an era that cloud technology is seated. Now, let's talk about the core context here, which is Microsoft Azure. And I'm going to bring Deji back now. Now, for my research, Microsoft Azure, now, as of the time I did this presentation, was the 2nd largest public cloud in the market share. And as of this time also, we have 65 regions, and I think more has been added. And we have 2 for Africa, which in South Africa, and all these things collaborate the effort by which we can gain from the cloud technology. Now, Deji, when we look at cloud technology, what is the field that comes to your mind? especially when you call running cloud environment with a local private environment, which is the on-prem environment?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, when we talk about running on-prem, there is already this shift, and we don't have option. We just have to move with it. Otherwise, you just find out that you are an island that is on your own. You cannot really relate. You can collaborate. And when we now talk about the cloud, it has actually come to stay. So at the moment, most organizations, most companies, most private, public, large, medium scale organization, they've started to appreciate the work, the usefulness of this cloud technology. I was surprised when my daughter told me, I want to use Office 365. I said, for what? That the last time I lost my laptop, most of my work, they are gone. But if it's on Office 365, I will have everything stored in the cloud. I look at this young girl. Wow. So you already know the advantage of cloud technology. So everywhere they've seen this come out to play, though in Africa, the adoption, the growth is slow, but the truth of the matter is actually moving very fast. Like in my own field of data, I have seen lots of organizations migrating. In fact, I can't count how many organizations we've migrated to the cloud, their database, from SQL Server on-prem to Azure SQL, and also using Power BI to tell story, and all their management, their director, the management staff scattered across the country, they appreciate the value of what we have. Just yesterday, another request came from a client. We've been doing presentation. We saw somebody did some nice presentation on their data, and we're like, wow, how did you do this? He said Office 365. So they came back and said, look, you've been talking about Office 365. I think it's time we move. Now, there's a major shift, and people are actually moving rapidly. So what comes to mind readily when you mention cloud technology in those days is always security, is always data protection, and so many things. But now we've seen that the advantage is much more, even in time of cost. People look at cost initially, but when you do a detailed analysis, in fact, cost is even nothing to place beside all the values you see here. The cost on cloud is far better, cheaper than the on-prem. We can do the analysis, but that's just the simple truth. So thank you very much, Seyi.
Yeah, thank you, DG. Now, we are seeing now that we cannot erase the fact of the cloud. But mind you, where we are going is the hybrid. Now, why we are talking about the cloud technology is for you to begin to because I say you should have your perception today. Your perspective, your perception differ if you don't have a better understanding of the cloud technology. Now, the cloud technology is my vanilla. And the cloud technology is engaged and powered with massive computing power, with massive intelligence when you talk of security, with massive manpower input into the system. But what is the on-prem environment? I saw somebody. Oh, thank you. Now, what is an hybrid environment? An hybrid environment is also relying on my private or on-prem environment. For example, I have a core solution that I've been using for years, and I don't want to lose the gap of this. Or I want to onboard on cloud, but I don't want to go into the cloud technology immediately. I can first of all design an hybrid environment, ensure that there's a continuity, there's a consistency in the way my operation goes before I migrate. So some people in Azure specs, you can see a lot of changes that has come. An Azure cloud model has 4 main model. The on-prem, which is what we are talking about, which is the private, which we manage ourselves. Our company pay for the server. We get all the runware. We get the OS, the servers, the storage, the networking. We do it on ourselves. We manage it ourselves. Now we have the infrastructure as a service, one of the model that the cloud technology give us, where we can actually have an hybrid environment with our infrastructure as a service. That means we are saying we want Microsoft or the provider to ensure that they provide us other things that entails the running of my server, which is virtualization, the server, the storage, and the networking. Why the others, like my application, data, runtime, midwire, or OS, I can provide it myself, and I can run it as an hybrid environment that tied to my on-prem system. Then I have the platform as a service, one of the model where I have everything like 80% provided by Microsoft or any other OEM that you're using, and you have your application and data brought in, and you can actually run it across with an hybrid environment with your on-prem environment. The last one is software as a service, where you have something like Dave mentioned, M365, you have your OneDrive, your Exchange, you tie it with an hybrid environment where you can have your Exchange server on-prem, and you can have it tied to the cloud technology, and both of them can have a consistent continuity by using what we call AD sync. Now, these are just in terms of platform, how it runs in terms of local adaptation. We can see it's running across several spaces from most major provider and operator are now moving to the cloud technology, and some of them are spanning up their hybrid environment. So Microsoft Cloud generally brings us to understand that we have a platform that can give us a consistency when it comes to hybrid environment, where you have you as a customer having your own environment that can empower you for mobility, empower you to have things that are gone beyond. Like we are in an age that we have now what we call Internet of Things. That means we are saying there are some devices that are very smart now that we need to incorporate into the cloud technology. And designing it, you need what we call an hybrid environment, because those devices run on your environment and you want to connect it to an IoT hub or something on Azure to ensure you can have a consistency of your platform. Then in terms of the data, we have the data center with consistent code. With your solution, you can create innovation anytime. You can ensure that you can build your software. You can also automate your secure infrastructure, allowing you to be very protected using your Windows server or your virtual application or your virtual server. And you can extend this across even your hybrid environment. Now, going through this give us an inspiration that even as a software builder, I can build my software, ensure consistency using the core solution provision DevOps operation, where I can run my application from my cloud environment and run it via to my application that runs on my on-prem. I can automate the infrastructure. I can extend it, even unifying it in terms of managing it across each of these provisions. That means the hybrid environment gives you an advantage. You can simplify your management. That means whatever you have on your on-prem and on your cloud server, you can actually manage it. You can operate the workload from a central point. You can also create what we call provision of deployment of configuration, and you can also automate it with best practice. So all this thing is giving us to what we call the delivery change, which from business people, every turbulence you have been having in terms of disaster recovery, in terms of availability, in terms of being able to have consistency of your operation, you can easily have it with an hybrid environment. Now, you can also have your business application run on this model, whether you are running it on IaaS, you are running it on PaaS, or you are running it on cloud himself with your own IT automation solution, which is readily integrated into the agility. So this solution is agile, it can easily be controlled, and is very flexible. Now, I'll be bringing Deji back now, and what we're going to talk about is in terms of connecting hybrid service, and we're going to tie it to Power BI. Now, we know so many people, you have said you have done so many deployments when it comes to migrating people from the on-prem to the cloud. Have you ever customers that actually want to have a connected solution, an hybrid service within their Power BI service, which will run their data and the cloud?
Okay, so thank you very much, Seyi. Now, let me paint a scenario, real life scenario, where we can have all these data running. So we have an organization that is running 100% on-prem. And now there is need to build a data warehouse. And some of the new solutions they are acquiring, they are purchasing, some of them are actually cloud-based. So the first question is this: why must you have your data warehouse within the organization? If there is any issue with the network or any infrastructure you have within the office, all your remote staff will not be able to see your report until it comes back to life. At the midnight, somebody needed to see the report. We know that we have different time system across the world, and one of your staff happens to be in a location, then they to get a report out, and at that time it's midnight here in Nigeria, your data center is down at the moment, or the server that needs to provide that information is down at the moment. There are a lot of things, problem around here. So all what we need to do is to build a cloud solution that allows us to host our data warehouse. So instead of holding the data warehouse within the organization, the company still runs, everything is running. So with the help of different, what's it called, tools like Azure Data Factory, like SSIS, we've been able to pull in all their resources together, all their data sets, and now this data set is seated in the cloud as our data warehouse. It can be on either Synapse or any of the data storage. Now, number two, Power BI is 100% looking at the cloud service, so that everything that happens live and direct can be reported. And this company actually track vehicles. They have a lot of vehicles across the country. They are tracking the movement and the position. Real time online, as it is happening, is uploaded into that database. And on your mobile phone, you can actually track and see what is going on. This is useful not only to the organization, also to those people that are actually using their services. They can actually track and monitor what is going on right there on Power BI. So look at this simple solution. But imagine we have all these things sitting in the office, and to do all this connection that can allow clients and customers to come together and collaborate is tough. But we've been able to have a solution that allows this. And I love what Azure gave to us on the virtual machine. Moving your SQL server, in fact, regardless the version of the SQL server, let it be the first set of SQL Server 7, 5, all those old ones, I can move that same custom solution with the old database now into a space in the cloud. It will still be behaving as if it's still that same old database in our office, but this time it's seated conveniently in the cloud. And we can actually do what we call synchronize even the database. I've done another deployment whereby in the office they are using one database, in the cloud they are using another database that serves all those that are outside that location because of performance. The one in the office is serving those that are within their head office. And at the same time, we try as much as possible to sync and manage the database. Now, we have lots of scenarios like this. And this to let you know that the solution this has brought to the organization is far more than the disadvantage anybody might think of. So, Seyi, thank you.
Thank you, Deji. And we are trying to make this very interactive, bringing our experience, our understanding into it. Now, we're going to go forward. After that, we're going to look at other services that this can run. In terms from the networking, you can also have an hybrid through the networking. You can have an hybrid when it comes to virtual machine, which Deji has explained. You can have it in other firms like if you have data center and you want to run it on different VPN direct connection, you can actually run an hybrid environment. You can run an hybrid in terms of access, maybe identity. You want to ensure that your identity is syncing with the one of the cloud, having one consistent sign-in environment. You can actually have it, what we call active sync, or call it active. You sync what you have on your prem. You can also do that on your identity. Now, in terms of business continuity, you can actually have a recovery center, which you have one on your on-prem, which is your local server, that also is backing up or is being replicated somewhere in the cloud on Azure through Azure Site Recovery. So these are ways by which you can actually design your hybrid environment across your workload. Now, let's look at other things that it can do for us. In terms, apart from the management, what we are looking at is the consistency in terms of platform, where the customer will be happy. We as service provider, maybe you're a service provider, can also be happy, and also Microsoft, which is the provision of the cloud solution, can be. In terms of collaboration, several things have been mentioned, which Deji have already spoken of. What we need in terms of collaboration when it comes to the hybrid is to have consistency, people to be able to have access to things anywhere. And the way collaboration is growing across the workload, especially from 2021, is increasing when it comes to the worldwide mobility, mobile worker across. We can see people can do remote work now from any part of the world. We can also see it's almost 60% and it's growing. And the average global workforce that uses all this enable cloud environment, hybrid environment, is increasing at 6 times the normal size for a small business. And you can see it spread across several workloads in terms of sharing of content. People want their content to be shared, and they want to ensure that it's secured. They want to ensure that the resources can also be used by their mobile or remote workforce. And this now does not limit our availability. Even when you are having an hybrid environment, you can still have a real-time collaboration on your document, anywhere on your phone, in your offices, on your desk, outside your desk. You can also have your project projection and have understanding of how to manage your application. Now, customer, most time, they need something urgently. And that's why most people that are using an on-prem always find it very difficult when it comes to their limitation. They have to deploy something like VPN to ensure that their customer or your contractor can be able to connect with you. Now, with the combination of the cloud technology and also your on-prem environment, you can have what we call an hybrid system that can easily allow you to have a very, very productive environment. You can work anywhere. You can make work easy. Whether you are in your restaurant, you are trying to work, you have your mobile device, you can get your mail, you can get your automation done, you can make your approval done. All these things can be done on the go. And that is the beauty of this. And you should not be afraid when it comes to the cloud and the collaborative environment. Someone is going to talk about security, and that you see when you begin to reach out what Microsoft have inbuilt in terms of security for hybrid, you'll be rest assured in terms of control of securing your device, defending it against threat, and protecting your business data across any other field. So all this now help us to look at ways by which we can reduce when it comes to hybrid environment in terms of collaboration. And collaboration now is the core of most of what we need now, because people need to talk together, people need to work together. And when you are doing that, you must ensure that you are protected, you are secured. And this can enable you to know and look forward to making changes that can be very productive in your environment. So these are what we can gain when we have an hybrid environment powered by the cloud technology. Now, other things we need to look at is sometimes people need to complete projects. And I know Moses, when Moses was talking earlier, he emphasized on this. He made mention of some industry in Nigeria. One of them is educational industry, where we have issue during COVID-19. And now we have seen so many governments have onboarded into the cloud environment. Some of them are using an hybrid environment. Now, why do you stay on hybrid? You stay on hybrid if you want consistency. You stay on hybrid if you have a line of application that is very, very, very important, and the data history is so unique to your infrastructure, you cannot pull it out, you cannot take it, you cannot migrate it. You use hybrid because in future you are looking at migrating consistently, you are migrating totally to the cloud technology. You need to start somewhere, because you don't jump into the ocean. You must first put a test. Your leg must first go into the water to understand what is it. So in project environment, in project management, it is very essential for us to also consider ways by which we can also complete our job with our mate outside our environment. And you need a cloud or an hybrid environment to do that, where you can have collaboration in real time, you can access your content anywhere remotely, you can connect with your worker together, and you can also co-author. Co-authoring is a way by which you can run your application vis-a-vis with any of your project partner at the time when you are needing it. Now, other things that I think the other speaker is going to talk about security, I'll just run over it. Now, Microsoft now knows that when it comes to hybrid and cloud technology, there's a need for protection. And defending it across cyber threat, data that's very, very important, that don't need to be getting to on malicious and also to secure your devices. All this runs across Microsoft digital transformation when it comes to looking at offering of security, where you have most of your environment is coupled with people. Like 41% in this research actually want to work from anywhere. That means they need the application protected. Enterprises are changing. They have sensitive data. They are afraid. They can't put it in the cloud. And they need a guarantee from the cloud provision that can give that. And all these things run into several segments in terms of identity, data loss, information protection, and all run into three major factors. One, Microsoft have provided a protection at the door, and that is your identity and access management. It also protects you from terms of your data going anywhere, protecting your data anywhere. And finally, it also detects and remediates attack. I was privileged to be in Redmond sometime, and I was having a conversation with some security team, and they were telling us the way Microsoft infrastructure is built to protect and mimic and protect them, their infrastructure, the cloud infrastructure, or anybody deploying their hybrid environment from attack. They have humans, and these are professionals that have understanding of security. They are empowered to be able to use Microsoft and other security tools. They are called hackers. They employ these people and give them regular confirmed employment. And they divide them rather into two teams. We have the red belt and the blue belt. Each of them, every day, what they do is to find a way to see a malicious attack to ensure that Microsoft product is not penetrated. Now, apart from that, there's what we call artificial intelligence. Microsoft have millions of dollars embedded into creating model and algorithm that can easily detect across all its Microsoft platform, whether you are on the cloud provision or to the Arc. There's what we call Microsoft Arc, which is a protection that protects not only you, also protect devices that are smart, like your IoT devices. It ensures these are done. And all these things embedding it into Synapse, embedding into other infrastructure that has come into the cloud provision. So the detecting it and ensuring that you have a solution when you have vulnerability. So I'll be bringing Deji back now, because we want to talk about data generally in the next few minutes. You're going to run through data, how it can also be provisioned in an hybrid scenario. So we know the security perimeter has changed, and stories from people like Jack, that Jack Driving Locker, that had this case of security that was able to be secured by Microsoft solution across their infrastructure, whether on-prem and the cloud. We have Ghana Foods, and although all these are case study that has come from the other part of the world. But I'll bring Deji in. Deji, now we are looking at data, business intelligence across hybrid environment. Please. Yeah.
Okay, so, well, one thing you should know about data, most organizations, they've come to realize that data is actually the biggest asset they should protect. It's no more building, it's no more cars, but data is a business asset that should be protected. And there are a lot of things that a data can do for you. Nowadays, we now found that data can strategically reform an organization. So how do we work on the data in the organization on-prem, in the cloud, or we sync them together? So as far as we are concerned today, we have lot of provision for data on Microsoft Azure. So lots of data solution. So just to mention, from blob storage into Azure SQL, into any form of database you might think of, which has a way to keep your data for you. And today, we want to see how the solution we have on-prem and in the cloud can help us come up with insights and not expose our data to people that are not supposed to have it. As a case study, I'm going to use Microsoft Power BI or Synapse as a case study. Now, whenever we have our data, either on-prem or in the cloud, and we've been able to build wonderful insight around our data sets, we want all the users, all the customers to enjoy these insights. So we implement one of these critical protection called RLS, role level security. So role level security, if Seyi should log in, and Seyi is a regional manager for South, for example, if he logs in into that platform, the only thing Seyi will have access to is everything that belongs to South. Each role of the transaction is going to manage it securely and make sure it not expose the wrong thing to the wrong person. So that is one. Number two, after gaining my business insight, I needed my customer to also see some of what have happened, their past invoice and so many things. Now, being able to have access to all those reports, then they need to connect either through their mobile phone and see what is happening. They want to connect to this platform. They also be checked at that point. You can't just see any invoice that belongs to somebody else. You can see your invoice, the past, the present. You can project into what will likely happen to you. So that is all you can do within your space. So you can come up with your report. You can see your dashboard. You can predict even into the future and say, oh, this is, but it restricts you, keeps you within your space. Now, for any other ways of handling our data or insight around our data, we should also know that you can stamp some data based on the level of sensitivity. You can deploy so many things around your data. And don't forget, the data we have in an organization, most companies that keep data today, even in their office, they begin to put them up into a warehouse so that they can make sense out of this. Now, what is the essence of keeping servers, storage devices in the office, where I can actually leverage on blob storage that can give me minimum costs? In fact, there are some blob storage, some data that you want to archive that you may not really visit, maybe you only visit them once in 5 years. Wow, it's as good as free when you move billions of such transaction to the cloud on blob storage. Just leave it there and whenever you need to visit it, you visit it. And we have all this provision for us, being able to sync between both and being able to get our business insight when needed. And what is the advantage of this insight we are talking about? The advantage is massive. Number one, I can easily help the business to go forward. I can tell them this is what you've been doing and this is what you should do. I can do things around descriptive analytics for them. I can do things around predictive analytics. I can do things around cognitive analytics. I can do things around diagnostic analytics, and I can do things around descriptive analytics, which will help the organization within few seconds to know how to tread, how to move. And this can only be achieved if you have a solution that people can easily rely on, 24/7 available on the cloud, than having a solution that will sit in the office, box in a place that you need to come over there or deploy VPN or those solutions to access. Now, this is actually the time to adopt what we call an hybrid solution, where we have the sync and the synergy. So, intelligence solution, well, you cannot compare Power BI with other tools out there when it comes to business intelligence or data insight and analytics. So, since the past 7 years, Microsoft has taken the lead. It used to be Tableau, but as we have it as of today, it is massive. It's a platform that you can rely on. It's trusted. It's easy. It's easy to use. It's a self-service solution. You can actually rely on what you have there and improve on what it's doing, and it gives you very fast insights. There's no limitation to the database, to the size of data you can actually process with this. Some people still use Microsoft Excel to process business insights, but gone are those days. Excel can only handle minimum transaction, but this can handle high volume of transaction, and it also allows you to do incremental load. So you don't need to load you load what you need at the moment, and once more data is coming in, is a nice solution that you can rely on. What's happening in the office sync into what happened in the cloud at a period and a particular time, and the organization can rely on the insight. So let's move to the next slide. Okay, so Seyi, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Deji. I don't know if there's any question because of our time. Let's just move on to any question that you want to ask so that we can answer that, make it very interactive. Yeah. Okay, I think on Anderson.
Okay, guys, if we have questions, Mr. Seyi is requesting for questions. You can just put up your hand so that they can give you an opportunity to ask your questions, please. Thank you.
Okay. I think somebody hand is up. You can
go ahead and ask your questions.
We have Ajala hand up. So Ajala, can we have your question, please?
Mr. Ajala, you can ask your questions.
Please unmute.
Are you unmuted, Mr. Ajala? Kindly unmute so you can ask your question.
Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this wonderful webinar. It's been interesting all along, though I joined a little late, but I've been able to grab a lot of things from it. I'm an IT support technician, and I would like to know how I can incorporate the Power BI into my career, like merge it together with my career as an IT support technician, and can it go side by side?
Good. So thank you for that question, Najala. Now, as an IT support engineer, Power BI has lots of things to do for you. Number one thing it can do for you is being able to have an insight into what is happening within the organization. Myself and Seyi deploy a solution for a bank. And what is that doing? It's actually helping the IT support team to know, one, if any of their server or their system is down. If anyone has not been responding, they perform as those that are using over 75% of the system resources, and so many other things like that. And all these things can be seen on your mobile phone. And once you get to a particular point, it can trigger a message to you or the head of the IT team. Now, all these things is not difficult. It's something you can deploy on your own. Power BI is a tool on the low-code, no-code platform that you can pick up and get to know easily. Now, if you can use a tool like this, all you need to do is to connect to all your data sources or your log analytics or your app insights. So you already have all these solutions running on Azure, and you can plug in the Azure that is in the cloud to help you study even those systems you have in your office remotely. And once it's doing that, it keeps the log file in a storage device in the cloud. You can now connect Power BI to that storage device real time online as it's happening. Show it to me, and you can use this to do that. That is one. Number two, that's outside the business data. The business itself has some data they need to get quick insight from. So Ajala, you can actually build a small data warehouse in the cloud and have a pipeline, have your SSIS to extract the data from the office, critical data, move it to the cloud storage, build a report that interfaces that cloud storage, and give you insightful reports that you can depend on and you can share with your management staff to help them take critical and strategic decisions. So this is all the way. It does not, Power BI or data analysis is not taking you away from your job. It's to help you perform better in your job function. As an HR, it helps you all areas. So as an IT support, it has a lot to do for you. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah. In addition, you can see from the design Deji said that we did for the bank, they actually have on-prem servers in their data center, in their private data center. We just capture all the data through log file. We put it to the block server, block storage, and we now use Power BI to bring inside. And it was consistent because the refresh time was being done by Power BI, and the data was being pulled through what we use log analytics solution that runs from the on-prem down to the cloud. I hope we have answered your question, Ajahn.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm happy with the answer.
Okay. Any other question? We have 2 more minutes.
So guys, questions, please. I think Ajala raised his hand again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Ajala, you can go ahead.
Sorry, I have another question. Please, how do I get started with Power BI? How do I get started with it?
Okay, so I will recommend you go to Microsoft Learn. That's a good start point. So go to Microsoft Learn. You can start with that. And apart from that, there are lots and lots of training institutes that offers that training Power BI. But go to Microsoft Learn is a good start. And I promise you, it's not something that will stress you. It's as easy as ABC. So if you are new to, as long as you know mathematics and you enjoy business, Power BI, you've covered 80% of your task under Power BI. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One other hand came up. Any other question? Okay, so Moses, Seyi, I think we are good.
Yeah. Moses?
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. This is fantastic. It's wonderful. Thank you for the session, Mr. Seyi and Mr. Deji. It's an eye-opener. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Also, Mr. Ajala, thank you for the questions. and I'm sure justice was done to your questions. So if you still have questions, maybe some questions pop up after now, you can always reach out to me. I will reach out to Mr. Seyi and Mr. Deji, to answer your questions. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Seyi, Mr. Deji. Thank you so much. Without wasting more time, we're going to move to the next session now. Mr. Olawale Olayigbade will take us on the security aspect of a hybrid cloud, some of the security tools that Microsoft provides for us to make sure our data is secure while we collaborate in a hybrid workspace. Thank you very much. Mr. Wale, you can have the floor now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moses. Thank you once again, Mr. Seyi and Mr. Ayodeji. It was a good session, and I want to also use this moment to appreciate what you are doing for the community, the Microsoft community, and the Azure community. Actually, I started with the community 2019 when we had a boot camp at Zynox office then. So, and that was what inspired me to even deep dive into Azure, deep dive into Microsoft 365 today. So yeah, your work is really noted and appreciated. And I also like if we can share links to the community here so that someone like Ajala and people we have here can also join. There's a lot of things they can benefit from being in the community, like the Power Platform the Power BI and Power Platform community it will really help for him, with including him studying on Microsoft Learn. So my name is Olawale Olayigbade, and I'll be talking about Microsoft security for hybrid workplace. So I'm a cloud engineer at TD Africa. I'm a certified Microsoft trainer, an Azure administrator, and Microsoft 365 security administrator. So our agenda for today, will be discussing a little bit about the cybersecurity landscape. We'll be introducing, we'll be doing our introduction. We'll be talking about the approach to securing hybrid workplace and some of the tools that you can use, like your Azure Active Directory, your Microsoft Endpoint Manager, your Azure Information Protection, Microsoft Defender for Office 365, and Azure AD-PIM. So let me just go in. Okay, so cybersecurity landscape. We know cybersecurity is not something we should take lightly. These hackers are not relenting. Their attack is growing day by day, and it's getting more sophisticated. Unlike what we used to have maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the attack now is very sophisticated that it is now becoming very difficult for normal security solution like our antivirus to track this kind of attacks. So to let you know how serious these attacks are, Microsoft intercepted at least 30 billion email threats just last year. 30 billion email threats just last year. And hackers are launching over 50 million password attack every single day. This is not just a data here. I'm a security administrator for my company. I look at the dashboard and I see the number of password attacks that comes in every single day on my organization alone. It is highly alarming. But thanks to solutions like identity protection and other Microsoft solutions, we've been able to get that controlled. So, okay, security. I'll just be talking about a brief introduction to security in the hybrid workplace. What we have now with hybrid workplace is that we don't have a bordered network, network again. The network we have now is borderless, because previously, before remote work and hybrid work, Everybody want to do anything. You come into your office, you connect to the internet. There's Azure AD. The company have their firewalls and security solutions around their network alone. But now we are in the era of remote work. We are in the era of bring your own devices, whereby you have to use maybe your personal device to access company resource and all that. So there's a need for security, because the security now is not world like we used to have it, whereby everybody work from a network. It is outside. People are working outside their corporate network, and that could be an issue if necessary security solutions are not put in place. So, approach to securing hybrid workplace. So I'll be majorly talking about 4 approach, which is the Microsoft approach to securing hybrid workplace. First, number 1 is to keep device healthy and managed. So you have to ensure that every device connected to your resource or to the network, to the company's resource, must be good, must be safe, must be okay, and must be managed. What I mean by good is that, okay, the device is not a virus affected device. There's no malicious application running on the device that could compromise or steal company information or company data. So for people to be able to use their personal device, their mobile devices, their personal PCs to work with company information, it has to be managed. It has to be a good device. Second one is making security everyone's job. So security is a shared responsibility. So security is not just for the security administrators alone. It's not just for the security department or the IT department alone. The security of a company or an organization is everybody's work. Everybody in that company, up to the security at the gate. It is everybody's work. Everybody has a role to play when it comes to security. And you have to educate people, you have to inform people that there's a role they need to play when it comes to security of their workspace. So the third approach is secure home office. You know, now people don't really come to the office again. They have just like a workspace in their house where they work from, and they do their work from there. So you have to ensure that this home office is secure. How do you ensure that this home office is secure? People will be looking at, how do you ensure that? Is it that you have to send your security administrator to staff homes to set up security solutions, or you have to network your company resource to the home? It would have been that way, and it would have been expensive that way. But with the help of cloud solutions, which Mr. Ayodeji and Mr. Seyi has been discussing earlier, we can achieve security for home office from the cloud. And the fourth approach is building a zero trust strategy. So zero trust strategy, what zero trust means is that you are just assuming that anybody can be compromised, be it the security administrators, be it the CISO. You believe that everybody can be compromised, and you implement strategy that ensures that if anybody in the company is compromised, such situation does not really cause huge or drastic impact on the company. So that's what zero trust is, that okay, anybody can be compromised, so we have to watch for everybody. We have to watch out for everybody. So first technology I'll be talking about is the Azure Active Directory. So Azure Active Directory is a single identity control plane that grants you visibility and access and the control over what you have in your environment. So it's just like is an Active Directory, is an identity management solution, but it is a cloud identity management solution. You can integrate it with your on-prem using a tool called AD Connect. So some of these, some of the benefits of using Azure Active Directory is that you can have a single sign-on solution for your identity. So the identity you can with Azure Active Directory, you don't have to with Azure Active Directory, you don't have to consistently sign in with the same credential when you are using different apps. So it's a single sign-on in saying that all your complaints, you can sign in once and access all apps that your organization is providing. It has what we call conditional access policy. So what is conditional access policy? So conditional access policy is one of those tools that I found very effective in Azure Active Directory. So conditional access makes sure that you create policies to accessing your resources. That's identity policies, security policies to accessing your resources. Assuming, okay, you want everybody to easily sign in when they are on the network, because maybe you have some security investment on your network that you feel like, yes, once people sign in, once people are on the network, they should easily sign in. But in the case whereby someone is not signing in from your network and is using a device that is not known to your network, without person just signing just like that, no, you can create a condition policy that, okay, if this person is signing in from out of our network, let's enforce MFA on this particular signing. Let's enforce that this person register his device in order for him to be, before he can access resources. So that is the kind of policy you can achieve with conditional access policy. So there's a lot of it. There's you can achieve it. It is very broad. You can achieve based on signing in. You can achieve it based on, you can restrict it to maybe certain locations. You can restrict it to certain IPs. You can restrict it to certain users and so on. So, and we have the multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication is one of those things that Microsoft that Microsoft Azure Active Directory offers when you are using Azure AD. So MFA allows, it creates a third layer security for your sign-in. So in case maybe your password and username is compromised, which we do have a lot of compromised username and password, but this third layer ensures that even if the hacker have your username as your password, the third layer could be a test code that Microsoft will send to your phone. It can be a call that Microsoft will call you whenever you are signing in. It can be you using the authentication app to confirm that is it really you that is really signing in. So when you see those kind of code, those kind of text code, you know that someone is, maybe you know that your account is compromised, but at the same time, your account is protected from this hacker. That's why the fact that they have your username and password, because of this MFA, they don't have access to resources on your your organization resources or resources that is being assigned or available to you. So, and we have the identity protection. So this is where AI comes in. Microsoft, like Mr. Seyi said earlier, Microsoft is investing heavily on AI, and AI is what we need to tackle the cyber threat that we are facing now. There is what we call zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks are attacks that are not known to, that they are new attacks that have not been registered, that does not have signature, that has not been registered anywhere. Just like a hacker developing a kind of developing an attack that has not been used before. How do you track this thing down? Most of our antivirus uses what we call signatures. So when a system is compromised and they investigate it, they notice the way the hacker has compromised their system, and they protect against it. So it is only known attacks that they can protect against. But with AI now, you can protect your system from unknown attacks, which are the zero-day attack. So identity protection help you achieve that. So it uses some of the capabilities that, okay, maybe someone is always signing in, like someone that goes to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. His work is at VI, and every day that's where he's signing from. That every day that's where he work. Every day that's certain IP is what he has been signing in from, and suddenly he just saw his location coming in from maybe his office is in Lagos. His location is coming in from Maiduguri. Definitely, you know that AI, with the power of AI, the intelligence can tell the system that no, this might not be this person. Why not we restrict this signing and confirm if it's truly this person before we give access? So that's the power of AI. So another one we have is the impossible travel. Impossible travel in the sense that you sign in from Lagos in 3 minutes, or like 3 minutes ago, suddenly there's another sign in from London. That is impossible travel. You cannot travel from Lagos to London in 3 minutes. The artificial intelligence blocks that immediately and notify the security admin. So that's some of the capability of Azure Active Directory. So the second solution I'll be talking about is the endpoint manager, the Microsoft endpoint manager. So like we said in the approach to securing hybrid workplace, we said management and keeping of device safely is very important. So with Microsoft Endpoint Manager, we can achieve that. So Endpoint Manager have some tools in it, like Microsoft Intune, which is a cloud-based device and app management solution for Microsoft. We have the Configuration Manager, which is an on-prem, but with Endpoint Manager, you can integrate this. Configuration Manager into the cloud, which leads to what we call co-management. That is, you are managing your devices from the cloud, and you are also managing it. From on-prem. So we have what we call the desktop analysis. We have the Windows Autopilot. So Windows Autopilot allows you to deploy multiple Windows system at once. So you don't have to sit down with each system and configure them manually. You can automate this process whereby you have a new system, you register them, and the Autopilot does the work of deploying necessary applications to these systems. So if you look at the picture we have here, so let me go back to that slide. You have fully integrated security solutions. So you can integrate your antivirus with Endpoint Manager, which uses Windows Defender. You can streamline audit, and also this Endpoint Configuration Manager uses Azure AD too. So you can leverage identity. You can use your Azure AD identity to manage these devices. Okay. So we have the Azure Information Protection. So Azure Information Protection is a cloud-based solution to enable organizations discover, classify, and protect documents and email by applying labels to content. So let's assume that your data is stolen. Maybe a file is stolen from your system. Maybe you accidentally shared your complaints document to an external party, maybe or to an unauthorized person. How do you protect this? You use the Azure Information Protection to achieve this. So Azure Information Protection allows you to classify, protect documents, both any of these documents, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, your emails, files, all kind of files. So you can protect them, you can classify them in such a way that you can classify documents that you want your document to be classified into three group. You want them to be public. Those are the documents that you want that anybody can access, that anybody can have access to. You want them to be internal. Those are the documents that only internal people, only staff of your organization can have access to. You want them to be maybe sensitive. That is, these are files that are protected, that are protected from any alteration. Like you want maybe your customer, your employee data records, you want those, you can label those on sensitive, maybe because you don't want any unauthorized person editing such documents. So with Azure Information Protection, you can achieve that. And the good thing about Azure Information Protection is that it moves with the file. So it doesn't have to be on your device, doesn't have to be on your computer. Once the file is labeled, be it downloaded from your system and copied to another person's system or copied into an flash drive, no matter how the documents or the data escaped from your internal organization or escaped and got to the wrong hands, it is protected. The encryption follows the file. Not because you don't have, the file doesn't have to be online before it's protected. Whether offline or online, the file is protected. And with Azure Information Protection, you can also track the file. You can track the location, you can track the IP, you can revoke the file from such person, even when the person has copied it. You can revoke files, you can restrict access, you can track files and track systems that are opening files with Azure Information Protection. This is this Azure Information Protection will fall under data protection, and we also fall under zero trust, because we know that, okay, even if we say we trust our staff, our data won't escape. Our data won't escape from, our data will be on their file, they won't share our data. And mistakenly a staff shared this file, you definitely rest assured that even if the file got to the unauthorized and they can't have access to it, they can't open it, because it is protected and it is encrypted. So we have what we call Microsoft Defender for Office 365. We all know that one of the major ways hackers try to reach employees is by phishing emails. By phishing links, by spam, by malware, and so on. So with Microsoft Defender for Office 365, even if you are not managing devices, maybe you don't want to manage your staff devices, but you can also protect your information. You can ensure that attacks are not coming in via your organization or via your emails or via your document and so on. With Microsoft Defender for Office 365, you can protect your emails from phishing, you can protect them from malicious link, you can protect them from malware, which hackers we attach to emails and send to you or share with you, or share an attachment that is actually malicious. With Microsoft 365 Defender, you can protect it. So what does Microsoft 365 Defender does? It prevents such attack, all these phishing attacks and malware attacks. It protects your Office 365 from phishing attack. It detects it. So maybe there's a link, maybe there's a malicious link in a document. What Microsoft Defender will do is it will scan that document for this malicious link, for this malicious document, and block such file or such link, or block you from opening such file or such link. You can investigate this attack. You can do from the dashboard, you can investigate this attack. You can investigate where is this attack coming from, who is the author of this attack, and you can take necessary security measures to prevent such attack from happening again. So response and remediation is very easy with it. And one thing again, we said that security is everyone's business. You need to have a way of educating your staff about security solution. So in Microsoft Defender for Office 365, we have awareness and training that you can easily offer. You can easily offer to your staff. They don't need to be on a separate platform. You can push out training for them on different security or cyber security awareness training. You can push it out for Microsoft Defender for Office 365. You can push out phishing training. What you can push out different trainings, educate them about phishing, educate them about DDoS, educate them about every cyber security at large. And that's what we call secure posture. So secure posture is just like a template that you can easily deploy, even if you have, like, this for the normal secure IT admins that are not well versed when it comes to cyber security. You can have a template that you can easily deploy to protect your organization. So what we have next is the privilege identity management. So this privilege identity management help us in the approach of zero trust. Zero trust, like we said trust no one. Anybody can be compromised. Nobody is island. Nobody is uncompromisable. Even the CISO can be compromised. So you have to have a strategy that even if these top people are compromised, your administrator can be compromised. And when it comes to privileged identities, your privileged identities are the people that have super access to organization structure, organization information, and organization and data. These are your administrators, these are your IT professionals, and so on. So you have a system that you can use to manage them. Yes, you have to have a system that you can use to manage them. Everybody should be managed. Nobody should be left out. So privilege identity management allows us to achieve this management, this management possibility with the privileged identities. With that, our admins, our global administrators, our top people that we know that controls or manage our infrastructure. So when those kind of people are compromised, it could lead to a lot of damage. So there's this case scenario whereby, okay, I think it was on Amazon. The company are using Amazon, they are using AWS, and they have this administrator. Maybe I think they have to advise him to resign, and the guy was not happy about it because he's the administrator, because he has access to all the resources. He went online and deleted the company's resource, deleted everything. So such thing can happen. Yes, people can be compromised. So how do you prevent this? Assuming they are using solutions like privilege identity management, you can prevent this. So what does privilege identity management offers? It offers just-in-time privilege access. Just in time. When the privilege access is needed, that's when you get it. It's not like someone will be global administrator for the whole year. No, you don't need global administrator access for the whole year. You only need it when you want to do something on the system, or when you want to implement something on the system, not forever. So privilege identity management provides just in time. So you are global administrator for a particular time, and once you are done, the access is restricted. It is time bound. That's time bound access. It requires approval. So you have in any organization, you're advised to have more than one administrator, or more than one global administrator. So with that, you have to seek approval. Global administrator have to seek approval before they can access. So even if a particular global administrator wants to do something on the system, he has to seek approval first. Then then the approval is given. Then he will be able to do what he wants to do. And it enforces MFA. So even if your global administrator account is compromised, you have to use MFA. You have to sign in with MFA before you can have access. And you have to provide justification. There has to be justification for anything you want to do. That is what privilege identity management enforces. There must be a justification. That it's not that you just sign in and do whatever you want. You have to be specific about what you want to do and the time you want to do it. So notifications, there's always a notification that everybody is being alerted when any access is approved, when any access is not approved. There's always a notification that you can use to monitor and always keep check of your infrastructure. So there's access review. So you can review access, you can review people access before you approve them. And there's audit history. So you have audit history of what all the things that is going on in your system, all the things that the administrators are doing on the system. And lastly, you cannot, so with this now, so what hackers will do is once they compromise the account of once they compromise the account of a global administrator, they switch such account, they switch it to their own, removing the global administrator so that they have full control. Because if they don't do that, you can the global administrator can change their password and easily sign in and do stuff. But once they remove it, the global administrator does not have access. So with privileged identity management, you can it prevents the removal of last active administrator. So that is the hacker cannot just remove your global administrator and take over your account. So that will be the last solution I'll be talking about, and I'll be taking questions now. So are there questions that okay, yes, okay, 2 questions.
Okay, Mr. Charles is on. I think I saw Charles.
Okay.
Charles, can you ask
Okay.
questions, sir?
So, yes, good afternoon.
Mr. Charles,
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. Yeah, and thank you so much for this insightful presentations. I'm very much, I'm an inquisitive person, and looking at what you presented, I just casted my mind back like 5 years, 10 years ago, and what we used to do with data, especially when it has to do with office data, data that has some kind of information that needed to be protected as such. I based on what you presented, I'm just kind of very interested. How do one now deploy this Azure on, especially for an organization that that doesn't have the idea? How can one now present it, in a way that is appealing? For me, what you presented now have recaptured my mind again to say, this is something that is worth doing. So how can one start from the scratch in terms of securing organizational data?
All right, thank you, Mr. Charles. So if you are using Microsoft 365, you would you have some level of these solutions in your environment which just need to be deployed or implemented. But that doesn't end. So even if you are not using Microsoft 365, you can buy licenses that you can integrate into your environment. So one of those licenses is the EMS, that's Enterprise Mobility Plus Security, especially in the hybrid workspace. It is necessary you have EMS in charge. So EMS allows you to manage devices, manage identity, and allow people to work with their devices. People can bring in their device into the system, and they will use it. So one is you can also buy the Azure AD premium license, which give you some levels of these solutions too. So, but to pack it all, Microsoft have what we call Microsoft 365. So Microsoft 365 license covers everything I've discussed here. So if you have but there are levels to it. If you have the E3, we have the E3, we have the E5, we have the E1. So depending on what you want to achieve, will determine the kind of license you buy. So you can buy this license and integrate it into your environment. Even if you are using on-prem AD, you can integrate this into your environment. So, Mr. Charles, do I answer your question, or you still want some clarification?
No. I think you're highly on point. As a 12, we use actually on my system we have 365 Enterprise, where I'll kind of deep down to find out if in the enterprise which of the categories now. And I can also recall that I saw the Azure, when looking at the packages, I saw some, sometimes when you see some of these tabs, when you are not, you don't know the real functions or how they can help you, do some certain things, unless you are exposed, just like being part of this, process has actually opened my eyes in another angle. So, like my typical kind of person, I'm going back now to start, trying some things, kind of.
All right. It's good.
Okay, so just to chip in there, Mr. Charles, I appreciate your curiosity that you want to dig deeper into Microsoft and its environment. We're always available to assist you here. If you have any need for, let's say you are need to dig deep and you have questions.
Fantastic. I appreciate this.
Yeah, always available. Just reach out to us and we will assist you. So, but one general thing I want you to know is that Microsoft is interconnected. You understand? So your Active Directory is already linked to Azure indeed. You understand? So most of the things you'll be doing are not going to be far in between. You understand? You're already in the environment of whatever Microsoft license you already have. You understand? So, but as you begin to dig deeper and claw your way in, and you find out that you have questions to ask, you can always approach us for right answers. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Mr. Jalai, you want to say if you can ask your questions.
Okay, I'm back again. So I think I have two questions based on my previous experience. Yeah, the first one is I once attended a seminar on the ISO 27701, where they talked about the standards of operation for organizations. So I don't know, how does the ISO how can you match the ISO's policies and Azure's policies? Are they compatible?
Thank you, Mr. Ajala. So ISO 27001. I hope you know Microsoft Azure, Microsoft 365 are ISO 27001 certified.
Okay.
Yes. So you can ensure you meet up with the standard with what we call compliance manager in Microsoft 365 and Azure. There's what we call compliance manager. So compliance manager allows you to allow you to ensure your environment is compliant with this kind of certification. We have the ISO 27001. We have GDPR. We have different kind of certification that the PCI DSS, that Office 365 ensures that you align your environment to comply with those certifications. Like ISO 27001 now, we deal with annexes. So there are different annexes. There's annex for information security. There's annex for device management also. So there are different annexes that you can know that, okay, for this annex, I'm not very certain of the annex number, but I know there's annex for information protection. There's annex for device management. So with Microsoft Intune now, you can align with device management annex in ISO 27001. For information protection now, you can use your Azure information protection to align with that. And different we have PCI DSS. PCI DSS deals with payment card. So there's there's a solution in Microsoft 365 that ensures that all information, be it on Office, be it on Word, be it on Excel, be it on presentation, be it on any file, are scanned to ensure that no payment card information is being exposed to external parties. So these are solutions that you find in Microsoft 365 and in Azure for their databases and some other solutions that ensures that you are compliant with these certifications.
Okay. So can I go ahead with this? Thank you for. Can I go ahead with the second question?
Okay, go ahead with the second question.
Okay, so like you were talking about multi-factor authenticator.
Did you do justice to the first question?
Yes, you did. You did it perfectly.
Okay. All right.
Thank
We
you.
can proceed now.
So the second question now, you talked about MFA, the multi-factor authenticator. Now there's this one for Google, the Google Authenticator. Is there any one for Microsoft as well?
Yes, there's one for Microsoft. It is called Microsoft Authenticator.
Okay.
So there's one for.
Okay, I'm with you, sir. I'm with you, sir.
For Microsoft, it's called Microsoft Authenticator. So you can do what we call the MFA, whereby you get your code and you put in the code, and you can do approval. So with the code one, you just go to the app, check the code, and input it in your sign-in page on your system or on your phone, and you sign in. And there's the approver. So the approver, when you use the approver, you have to accept that you are not signing in. And for you to be able to accept that you are not signing in, you have to, if you are using a smartphone, because the authenticator works on a smartphone, you have to either enter your phone password or you have to use your fingerprint for you to sign in. And this app is available on Google Play as Microsoft Authenticator, and on iPhone platform as Microsoft Authenticator also.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Then there's one more last one, please. I'm on Oliver Twist when it comes to asking questions.
Okay.
So the last one. Thank you very much. So the last one, Microsoft. You talked about the Microsoft Defender for Office 365.
Yes.
How does it tackle ransomware?
So ransomware first. When we look at ransomware, most of the ransomware attack we've seen are executables. So an executable must be on your system first before your files can be encrypted. Agreed, Abi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So on Microsoft Defender, it ensures that executable doesn't even get into your system. It ensures that you don't even open that executable. It ensures that you don't even click that executable. It will scan any document or any file that this executable can be attached to before you even have access to it. So it does the scanning before it even comes to your system. So once it finds the file malicious, it prevents the file from getting to your system. And you know, Microsoft, they use a lot of AI technology when it comes to security. And Microsoft is one of those cloud companies that invest heavily on security. Billions of dollars every year on research and development for security. So it tackles ransomware very well. And in the case of ransomware, it will not happen. Ransomware will not happen when you are using Microsoft Defender for Office 365 or any of the Microsoft Defender platform. But in the case, so Microsoft is also always like, no, they don't stand on the point that it will not happen. They stand on the point that even if it happens, what is the highest solution? So there's a ransomware protection with OneDrive. So when you save your files on OneDrive, which is part of the Microsoft 365 package, when you save your file on OneDrive, there's a ransomware protection that you can enable. So that in case maybe there's a ransomware file that encrypts all your files on OneDrive, you can always default back to the previous versions or the previous directory of your file before that attack occurred. So it reduced the impact of such of ransomware on your files. And ransomware is another thing we need to pay attention to, because once you are attacked, there's no security complaint or security solution that guarantees you can decrypt your file. So when it comes to ransomware, you have to be preventive. You have to take precautions and preventive measures before attack.
Thank you very much for the answers. You have done justice to the questions. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And I think there's still one. Okay. All right. Chat. All right. Any more questions? Any more questions?
Please, I have one more. Please, one more.
Okay. All right.
Can you recommend Microsoft Azure to governmental organizations?
Yeah, absolutely. To an extent, though. To an extent, it depends on the policy of that governmental organization. So if there's a data retention policy that does not allow them to share their data out of a certain geographical region or geographical location, that might be restrictive for now for we in Nigeria, because we currently do not have any data center residing in Nigeria, but we have one at South Africa. We have, I think, two in Africa. Maybe I think South Africa is a neighboring country around South Africa. So those kind of policies can restrict governmental and governmental agencies from using Azure. But apart from that, you can recommend it to anybody that this policy do not affect. You just have to understand the policies around your business environment to be able to recommend. But apart from this policy, we all know that this resource, Azure, is a very is the solution we need. I used to work as an on-prem, and I could tell the difference when it comes to execution, speed of execution. It is easier to use the cloud. Take for instance, now you want to deploy an application and you're not using the cloud. Now you have to first get the server set up, do all those kind of things that will take time. But with cloud now, in 3 minutes, I have in 3 minutes is too much. In 2 minutes, I have a running server at any capacity. That's what I mean. I mean at any capacity. I don't want that at any capacity you want such server to run. You can spin it up on Azure and get to work immediately. So we need to focus on the benefits and the possibilities that cloud computing is offering us, and nobody can deny the fact that cloud computing is very, very important.
Thank you very much for the answers.
So just to add to what Mr. said, depending on the criticality of the data, you understand, that you want to store in the cloud, there is a cloud deployment model called private cloud. Where you can buy physical bare metal servers, you understand, and install on your environment, you understand. So in that scenario, you are in control of almost everything. It's just that the cloud provides you the physical servers, you understand. And so in those situations, you can use the cloud, even if you have very critical applications that you don't want to expose to the public cloud, you understand. So government parastatals also can leverage on that, you understand,
Okay, so let me just put a point. That's a very good point, Mr. Moses. Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes. So in case maybe you want to leverage on Azure technologies, you can have a private cloud whereby Azure will Microsoft will ship the physical hardware to you that runs their cloud, so that you can benefit from it, because there's a lot of technologies, just like what Mr. Ayodeji and Mr. Seyi has mentioned, when it comes to data, when it comes to software, when it comes to infrastructure that are in the cloud now, in cloud platform now, that you won't get in your on-prem. So you can have like a private cloud setup for you. So any more questions? So in the absence of questions, I say thank you for your time. It's really my pleasure having you guys listening to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wale. Thank you for attending this session. It's been an eye-opening session for us. It's been a very enlightening session. You understand? Your questions have also enlightened us, helped us to dig deeper to an attempt to answer the questions. Thank you very much for coming with your wit and with your questions, with your curiosity. In the absence of questions, suggestions, okay, so just to confirm, I don't know if first speakers are still on the call, Mr. Seyi and Mr. Deji. I don't know if you are still on the call. I don't think they're still on the call. Okay. All right. So in the absence of further questions, thank you very much, our esteemed partners. Is there any question? Any other question?
No. So please, you can just pay attention to the chat. Mr. Ayodeji has dropped some link for us, and Mr. Seyi has dropped some link for us that we can use to join meetups and platform whereby we learn more about these technologies and also explore how to use them better.
Okay. That's in the chat session.
Yes, in the chat section. So you can just pay attention to the chat sections, copy out the link, click the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a